Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Y'all know what it is. Basketball heads, baby. This is how we started. Yes, sir. 4 years ago, April 30th. This April 30th will be 5 years. 5 years. So we definitely going to celebrate that in a huge way. But we're here. Welcome to Basketball Heads Live. I am your host, Glenn Poole Harding. And oh boy, we have a very, very special guest. This basketball head is a George Washington High School and New Hampton Prep great. At New Hampton in New Hampshire, that is where this basketball head learned the history of reclassification. Wow. Who knew that there was a real history behind the reclass? Only thing we know about the reclass is kids are doing it now, and it's a thing to do in basketball. The first time I heard about reclass had to be about 5 years ago. Yeah, about 5, 6 years ago. People were reclassing and the importance of reclassing. So that kind of shocked me because I always thought it started in basketball. But this basketball head learned the history of reclassification within the hockey ranks while at New Hampton Prep School. And we all know it spilled over to basketball, football, and other sports. After high school, this basketball head attended the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, UNC Charlotte, that is. He only spent a few moments there before his coach got fired, and he had to transfer to Midland Junior College. And after Midland, he attended Iona University for his last 2 years of eligibility as a Gales standout. Now, he coaches youngsters in his own program called the Wizards, helping the next generation of ballers achieve their goals of playing Division I and Division II ball. This past summer, his kids won a championship at Dykeman. That's big, man. Your own program, grassroots. That's how all this thing started in basketball, especially here in New York City. So, without further ado, help me welcome to the show, George Washington High School and New Hampton Prep great and Iona University standout, my guy, Tony Wright.
Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Yes. You have just stepped out into the world of chaos. Where everybody goes hard. Come on. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Or go home. Never back down. You gotta hold your own. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. East Coast. Go hard. West Coast. Go hard. Midwest. Go hard. Dirty. Hurry up, everybody. Get online, buy your tickets, cause the game about to start.
What's happening? What's happening, Tom?
Nothing much, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I want to just take us back to the summertime. We was up at Smart Ball.
Yep.
And we was kicking it. And you gave me one of the biggest compliments, man. I appreciate that, man. And this is what I'm saying about New York City as a whole. Whenever I touch down, that there are people out there that really appreciate what we do over here at Basketball Heads, and I just want to let you know that we appreciate y'all, man. And when you told me that story, Man, I was kind of blown away, man. And, I thought about it the whole evening. Actually, the rest of the week, I was just telling everybody just a brief synopsis of, that story you told me about the reclassification. And I just started spreading it like wildfire to people who I knew, and they didn't even know how this whole thing started. But let's go back, right? Let's go back to the beginning, man. Who introduced you to the game?
A gentleman by the name of John Black. I used to play for Intercession Church at a very early age. I think about 11 years old. Went to Intercession Church, tried out. I was a big kid, not very talented, but I was a big kid. And Mr. Black was such a gracious and good guy and such a great coach and role model. Took me in, taught me the game, helped me improve as a player. Really, really helped me as a young person as well.
Now that's dope, man. Salute to my guy Ayatollah Beats, the #1 basketball heads in the world. That's a fact right there. Always on every show, showing love. He's a super producer too, man. Yo, we gonna make that happen, Ayatollah, real soon. Real soon. Appreciate you, brother. So what part of New York City did you grow up?
I grew up in Harlem. I grew up in the Sugar Hill area. Grew up playing hoops in the Battleground Park, very well-known, legendary Battleground Parks up in Harlem. So yeah, I grew up in the Sugar Hill area, not too far from Washington Heights. Yeah.
What was those pickup games like at the Battleground?
Oh man, legendary. As a young guy, I used to come out and watch some really, really good hoopers. Guys, Reggie Reed, David Hoggett, all these guys were also college players. I watched Joe Hammond and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar come through the park with some of the old school guys, the Sonny Johnsons and, those type guys. And as a youngster, man, I started growing at a rapid pace and got bigger and, got good enough to play with the older guys when they didn't have the other top guys. So if someone quit and they needed an extra body, hey, Tom, come on, let's go. I would go and play. But, when you're a young guy playing with the older guys who've been around, there's always instructions, right? First instruction, don't shoot, right? Guard your man. Don't let him score. Rebound. When you get the rebound, pass me the ball. And you know what? As a youngster, you go, man, these guys are limiting me and this and that. But the reality is they're really teaching you how to play the game without just focusing on scoring, right? Learning how to do other things, which I'm grateful of because I became more like a utility type players growing up. So it really helped me a lot.
The older guys were our actual trainers, right? When you look at it, right? They were our trainers. They taught us how to pass. They taught us the pick and roll. They told us, how to play defense. They told us how to trap. All of those things came early, from the older guys. Now we had coaches that probably told us the fundamentals, but when we got out there on the court, we needed the assistance of the older guys to help apply it on the court. And I think that's what's missing right now because the kids are only getting trained. They're not taking that through the whole process. And when they actually take it through the process, it's in real game situations. So it seems like everybody's playing trainer ball.
Yeah. And I think it does hurt some kids because what happens is you train 5 days a week, but you don't get an opportunity to, try your stuff out until you get into real game situations, right? Sometimes it works, sometimes it just don't, right? So playing pickup ball in the park is absolutely a good way to train and work on your game and improve.
Yeah, and I think as a whole, the older guys, the guys who are in high school should play with the younger guys who are in junior high school. The guys in college should play against the younger guys that's in high school. And, the guys who are fortunately enough to make it to the pros or overseas or play pro-am should come out and play with the college guys and the high school guys together, mix it up. So where these guys can have competitive runs. Now it's, we have guys all over the city. They're having spot open runs, which I think is cool too.
Yeah.
Right. And that gets that brings everybody together, right? That camaraderie, that brotherhood. But I think it needs to be more of that. And of course, a lot of kids don't watch the game no more. I don't even watch the game no more. At least the pro game, like high school and college, I'm all in.
You learn by watching, man. You learn by watching. If guys were to watch basketball more, they would see all the stuff that Steph Curry does, right? Moving without the ball, right? Shot fakes, ball fakes, and little things that make him great, right? It's not a lot of flash in his game. He'll make a couple moves, but those moves is just because he's using them to set you up to get where he wants to be on the court, right? A lot of kids, it's funny because they start the game off that way, right? 15 dribble moves. That comes later on down the line after the catch and shoot, after 2 dribbles and shoot. Now you want to keep changing it up. But yeah, the game has changed a lot. It's played more outside than inside, but it's still some good basketball being played.
Yeah, kids, when they first step on the court, the first thing they do is take a 3-point shot.
Nobody goes in and do the mic and drill no more, right?
Man, the mic and drill, right? The mic and drill.
And warm up. I tell kids, you know what? Go to an NBA game and get there early. Don't get there at game time. Get there early and watch the pros come out. As a kid, I went to a Knicks game one time, and they were playing the Celtics, and Larry Bird came out of the locker room, and he grabbed the basketball off the rack, and he walked all the way down to the basket, got right in front, didn't take a shot until he got right in front of the basket, and he started form shooting. Then he worked his way back all the way out to the 3-point line, and then he proceeded to hit like 5 in a row from 3 against the Knicks and gave the Knicks about 30. But that's kind of how you're supposed to warm up, right? Like anything else, you're supposed to stretch. If you're a track runner, if you're a baseball player, you don't throw 90 miles an hour at first. You throw 30s, 50s, and you warm yourself up. And that's the same thing with basketball. That's the way you should do it. That's not the way it's always done, though.
Yeah, most definitely. At what age did you start to fall in love with the game?
When I started seeing some success, I started playing at 11, 12. I was not very good, right? But I'm still growing a lot. And probably about 14 is when I started seeing myself having good games and tournaments, and my teammates started relying on me a little more to do more. I was very athletic because I think 13, 14, I was dunking the ball.
Wow.
So by then, it really built my confidence a lot. And I think around 14, 15, I really started seeing myself get much better. Probably about 16 is when I was first asked to play in a legendary King Dome tournament. And this is when it was King Dome. And this is, everybody was playing in there. The Richie Adams, the Gary Springers, Tony Red Bruin. And I was a young cat, 15, 16. And I was playing in the 19 and under. So I'm playing against Walter Berry and all these dudes. And my very first game, I am scared to death.
And this is while they was in high school?
Yeah.
Wow.
Berry,
what an
Kenny
experience.
Hutch. Yeah. And I was played on a team with a lot of young dudes that turned out to be some really good players. I think we were 15. It was myself, a guy named Tavian Benz, who was a friend of mine that played at NC State. Master Rob, legendary street ball player. Me and Rob go way back. We were both like 15 playing 19 and under. And in King Towers. And it was, a good experience for me and where I started really getting confidence in myself as a player.
Yeah, hopefully one day you could talk Master Robert to coming on the show. He got right to the day he was about to come on and said he couldn't do it. So, but we connected and he's definitely down. He's my Master Square Bronco brother. So salute to Master Rob, man.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, I had Kenny Hutch on here as well, man. Yeah.
Good guy.
All those guys you talking about, man, is definitely legendary. What was that like your first game under the whistle, or you experienced that before that big game?
No, I was playing with Intercession and playing in different, citywide Rucker and stuff like that. But when you're talking about playing against the top players in the city, King Towers was back then the tournament, right? You had the pros, you had the top college players. I mean, you would go to some of those games, and I don't know if you ever see crowds like that again.
Oh no, crazy. Yeah.
And again, a young 15-year-old playing in the 19 and under division and holding my own. And like I said, it's basically where I really started getting my confidence as a player.
Yeah, Kenny Hutch came on and talked about that legendary game between him and Pearl Washington.
Oh yeah.
Pearl Washington showed up on a motorcycle.
Oh yeah.
And gave everybody the business. And he admitted, he said he got me that night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the good thing about competition, right? Some nights you're gonna get done, some nights you're gonna do something, right?
Yeah, I've heard this kid say one time, man, and I'm not gonna blow him up, but this kid, the coach asked him why he didn't play defense, why he didn't go and challenge the shot. He was like, I'm not trying to get dunked on. And I was like, if you good and playing against the best, you're going to get dunked on. You're going to get shook. You're going to get a jump shot in your face. You're going to get your shot posted to the glass. Everything that's going to happen that's supposed to happen in basketball will happen to you if you playing against the best.
And that's just it. I've heard kids say that too. They don't want to guard. They'll be the best player on their team, but they don't want to guard the best player on the other team because they don't want to be on Twitter or Instagram. And I'm like, dude, that's part of the game. You know how many times I've gotten dunked on? But you know how many times I've dunked on people?
That's a fact.
And that's part of the game. And that's why it's called competing, right? And yeah, there are a lot of kids who don't want to compete like that, right? They don't want to play against the best. They'll have somebody else on their team guard that guy. I made a name for myself by doing that, and again, it's a little intimidating sometimes, but you know what? It's really gratifying when the game's over and you feel like you competed and the guy comes up to you and go, you gave me a good game, right? You were tough. That I enjoyed way more than scoring 20 points a game.
Man, I pride myself on being a defensive stopper, man. I just hated to see somebody score the same way all the time, or just my guys on my team back down from guys who had bigger names and stuff. And I was just like, you know what? If they watching him, they're gonna be watching me too.
I think I wasn't out of high school. I was probably 17, 18, playing in back in the day, they had a tournament on 145th Street, Chick All-Stars.
Yeah.
And I'm playing on a team, and I'm the youngest guy on the team, except for a buddy of mine's, Randy Grant, a.k.a. Workhorse, who from Sugar Hill too, played at Oregon back in the day. And Randy and I grew up playing together with Intercession. So we were the two young guys on the team. And we were playing with Cheese Johnson, Nigel Wallace, and guys like that. And we're playing against a team that had Sam Worthy, Artie Green, Richie Adams, Pookie Wilson, Darryl Mack. Yeah. Chick Imp, the answer. Chick was always too competitive. So he'll have 12 dudes who should be playing, And I'm in the starting lineup as, like I said, 17, 18. And I never forget, I wanted to go at Sam because Artie jumped out of the park. And I just saw Artie play against Ray Williams, who was with the Knicks. I saw him dunk on Ray Williams off the vertical.
Woo.
Right? And he's like, Tony, you guarding Artie. I'm going, I'm not guarding Artie. Oh, yeah, you got I said, I guard Sam. And he's like, you can't guard Sam. Right? You can't guard Sam. So, and again, I played in the game. I guarded Artie. He did what he did. I did what I did. At the end of the game, you know what? It was a close game. We wound up losing, like down at the buzzer. But again, that built a lot of confidence for me, just knowing that I can go out and compete, right? But again, kids now, they don't want to do that. They all want to be on the same team, and I don't know how much fun that is,
Yeah, and this is why we're gonna put together that game, and see the best play against the best, and let the chips fall where they may.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, that's
absolutely
definitely got to do that, man, for sure. What kind of impact did your coach have on you, and like your first coach? Let's go back to him again. Like, what kind of impact did he have on your game coming up?
Man, again, like I said, John Black, legendary John Black, who ran the intercession program. Mr. Black was, like I said, he was definitely a father figure for a lot of the kids, but he taught you the game, and he taught you the game the right way, right?
Right.
He wanted you to be competitive, but again, do the little things. And like I said, I wasn't very good when I first started playing with intercession, but he would take the time, and a lot of kids didn't even know this, but we would practice at 5 o'clock. Mr.
Right.
Black would have me come to practice at 4 o'clock and spend time working on a mic and drill and working on little things that I need to do to get better. So I would do that before these guys would come. And then when I was done working out with Mr. Black, I would run outside, right, and act like I'm coming to practice. And a lot of guys didn't know that, man. One of my buddies knew, Stu Barnett. Stu knew.
Stu, salute to Stu, my God.
Yes, yeah. He knew, but he was like, listen, that's what you got to do, man. If you want to get better, man, that's what you got to do. So, again, he took the time out to really work with me individually to help me get better. And he's one of the reasons why I coach and I got into this game, because I've seen how impactful he was with young people. And that was his life's work.
Nah, he's definitely love a student of the game and still helping kids to this day, man. Salute my guy, Stu Barnett.
Yep.
One of New York City's finest for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, I don't want to speed along too fast, but
yep.
You sent me this picture. Matter of fact, let me see if I could put it on the screen, right? You sent me a few pictures, and one was of the Gauchos, and I'm looking at the names in this clip, and I'm like, wow, like this is crazy. Like, what age did you kind of join the Gauchos? Like,
around 15. What happened was Intercession Church is where I learned to play and started playing. But I think around 14, Intercession, the funding wasn't there. So the program closed down. A lot of guys wound up going to Riverside. In fact, Mr. Black took the girls program to Riverside.
Right.
That's how Riverside girls became, like, the best in the city. And at first I went to Riverside and played there a couple years. I played on a very, very talented team with a lot of guys. And then after a couple years of Riverside, I went and played with the Gauchos. That picture I sent you, that was the first Golden Hoops they ever had in New York City, Daily News did a Golden Hoops tournament, and we were the champs of the very first Golden Hoop tournament. That was
Wow.
a super talented team. That was Rod Strickland. That was Dej.
Hold on. Let me do the honors. Let me do the
Okay.
honors, bro. It said the Bronx Gauchos champion of the first Daily News Golden Hoop tournament. Derek Brower, tournament MVP. Randy Grant, New Scholastic Sports editor, of course. Bill Travis, may he rest in peace. The legendary Bill Travis was in that picture. Tony Wright, director Lou Dalmeda, Gerald King, Eric Brown, Matty Bruss, all guys that was I had Eric Brown and Matt Bruss on the show. That's crazy. Coaches Dave McCullum, Fred Neal, Vern Dillard, Ross Strickland, Tyrone Joy, Dow Cumberland, Terrence Brotnick, not a butter, and Sam Martin. Wow.
Yeah.
The names.
Yeah.
That was, people don't realize what an impact Golden Hoops had, right? On the culture of New York City. And we didn't have to leave town because we played against each other.
Oh, man.
Right? And that right there, with the help of, the Daily News sponsoring it, and it happened during the Harlem Week. It was so much going on in New York City during that time, and people got to see some really, really good basketball.
No doubt.
That was crazy, and I'm definitely going to promote. I'm posting that tomorrow for Throwback Thursdays for sure.
And I tell you what's so funny. That's a super talented team.
Yeah.
All those guys are Division I college players, but the team we beat probably had as much talent as we did. We beat Riverside, which had Derek Cheevers, Shelton Jones, John Johnson, Ed Davener. Dude, that's when New York City was, was a lot of talent.
Yeah, they probably had Kennedy.
Mel Kennedy was on that team.
Yes, yeah.
Gary was on that team. Ben Gordon.
Yeah.
In fact, that was the team I played with. I was on that team for a couple of years, but that team was so loaded.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those summers where I just wanted a change, man. And ran into, I think it might have been Rod and Dej and Tyrone Joy down 145th Street. And Riverside, I went to a tournament. I didn't go with them. And they was like, yo, I thought you were going out of town with them. I was like, nah, you know what? I think I want to change, man. I might want to come into Gauchos. And they were like, you serious? I was like, yeah. So they called Dave McCullough. And, and again, I respect, shout out to Dave McCullough and those guys. That's when basketball and when coaches were just gentlemen, right? And they did stuff the right way. I never forget when I first joined the Gauchos, I went to Dave and told him I wanted to play. And the first thing he said to me was, did you tell Mr. Lloyd from Riverside that you're not playing with them any longer?
Classy move.
I said, nah. He said, well, I tell you what, if you want to play with us, you need to tell them you're not playing with them any longer. And I'll take you, but you need to have that conversation first. And, to this day, that, is why I respected Dave so much. But then again, I'm like, wow, he wants me, but he's telling me do the right thing. And that's what we need to be trying to teach our young people, to always do the right thing, And it wasn't so hard. I just went to him and said, listen, y'all don't need me. This team is loaded, right? And he wasn't happy about it, but it was a decision I made. I just needed a change. I went and played with a good group of guys. We got back and wound up beating them. So that made it even sweeter, right? But it also opened up other opportunities for me, because when I started playing with the Gauchos, I had a conversation with Lou about getting out of New York City. And, he promised me he would find something for me. And he helped me get into New Hampton School, which changed my life.
No doubt, no doubt. Salute to my guy Basil, New Jersey in the building. What up, Basil? We're gonna pay some bills and we're gonna be right back.
One of the great things about EEP law is in our community partnerships, the relationships that we build with people who really care about our community, with people who hold high value in giving back, with people who are pillars in their community. Being said, EEP Law is a proud sponsor of Basketball Heads Podcast, the #1 basketball podcast in New York City.
No doubt, no doubt. Salute to my peoples over at EEP Law. Yeah, now, before you got over to New Hampton, what was life like at George Washington, and did you play?
It was rough. Early off in high school, I was really immature. And I played on the team. I got playing time. As a freshman, I got playing time on the varsity. Sophomore year, I was really making a name for myself in the city. Had made a name for myself. But, it was, again, a lot of immaturity on my part, not really taking school very serious. Just kind of having too much fun, right? And really focus on playing basketball and not taking the academic portion that serious.
And I guess in between that time you was playing with the Gauchos and kind of figured like you needed to change. You needed to change the scenery. Did you feel like that, or did Coach Lou and the people around you knew you needed to change?
Honestly, it was me. Because now I'm a sophomore going into my junior year, and I started seeing other guys going off to college, right? The Richies, the Garys, and different people. And I played against some of these guys in summer leagues. So at that time, I started realizing that I might be good enough to even play in college myself. But I also knew academically I wasn't where I needed to be. And in order for this to work out, right, I didn't want to be in high school for 4 years, have a great high school career on the basketball court, and not be eligible to play college sports at all. So I knew I was distracted by, had a lot of friends, the girls, all the things that can distract an athlete. So I went to Lou and I had a conversation with him. We were out in Vegas, playing in a tournament out in Vegas. And one day, we're in the hotel sitting down by the pool. We started talking, and he asked me, he said, so, what's your plans? And I told him. He's like, so you think you're on that path right now? And I was like, nah, not really. I said, I know I'm going to need more work academically. And we started talking. He said, listen, if you do your share and do what you need to do, I'll help you out the best way I can. I said, well, could you find me a school somewhere out of the city? At that time, Rod was on my team, and Rod had went to Oak Hill.
Yeah.
And, a couple other guys I know had went to school out of state. And Lou called me one day. He's like, listen, I found a school for you. I was like, where? I'm like, Oak Hill? He's like, nah. I'm like, where? I want like a nice campus, but I want to be in the city. I'm a city boy. And he said, New Hampton School. I'm like, oh, okay. Where's that at? Connecticut? Nah, New Hampshire. And, I knew it would be a good opportunity for me. Talked to my mom about it. She was all for it. Got on the bus and wound up in New Hampshire, man.
He knew you needed to get away.
Yeah, absolutely.
He couldn't have two New York guys down in, Oak Hill, in that situation. So he definitely wanted to get you guys far apart and in a situation where you could be successful. My guy, Big Rob, I'm going to go back to that Go to Hoops. He said, who did the Broncos have on their team, if you know?
Loaded, man. Loaded.
Did my guys, Spice and Silk, from Lincoln Play, and Mouse
those are my
McFadden.
dude. Mouse McFadden, Spice, Carlton Owens.
Yep.
They had Mark Bryan on that team.
Mark Bryan, that's right.
Marty
that's right.
Sally was on that team.
Marty Sally was
John
Emergencina. Was Emergencina on that team too?
Yes. They were loaded, man. Listen. Listen, that was when we played everybody else in New York City, we gonna win because we got the talent. You play Madison Square, you play Riverside. And when I was with Riverside, you play those other two teams, Gauchos and Madison Square. It's a war. It's a war. But no, they were super talented too, man.
And the great thing about those teams, the talent was so condensed, right, on those three teams. See, now you got 1,000 AAU teams, but when it was just those three, those power three, you had all the best players playing against each other night in and night out. Night in, night out. And the sweet part was those teams didn't travel to the same tournaments. That's right. That's right.
Gauchos used to do Vegas. Riverside would do Phoenix, right? Broncos would do, different places.
We'll do local, like we'll do DC, Virginia. You know what I'm saying? But we gave each other room enough to go and win tournaments without stepping on each other's toes.
Absolutely. But one thing, we all wind up in the Boston shootout, though.
Oh yeah.
Broncos would be there, Riverside and Gauchos would be at the Boston shootout,
which is big.
Yeah, big.
Yeah,
big.
First time I met the guys from New Edition. Mike Bivens. Yep. Nah, this is dope, man. This is dope. You named so many guys you came up playing against, man. Who was a guy around your age that, kind of like you had to make sure that you was ready for? And I know it was a lot of them, but was there anybody that you was like your rival coming up?
And so crazy. My teammate from Intercession, Randy Grant, aka Workhorse. When we were younger, he was a much better player. Randy was smooth, can score like crazy, right? Can score like crazy. And we were friends, so when we played together, he was always giving me confidence. Oh, Tony, you can do this, you can do that. And I got better. But Randy grew up maybe about 8 blocks from me. So he played in 28 Park. I played in the Battlegrounds.
Right.
We played together at Intercession, but in the Battleground tournament, the local tournament, we played against each other. So that was my, that was my nemesis, man. Randy was a really, really, really good player. Super talented, can score against anybody, right? I'm talking about, I watched him give Walter Berry problems. I watched him give the big names problems, right? And the good part was his strength was Randy could score 30. Randy's weakness was Randy wasn't playing no defense. So, I can compete with him because I can slow him down a little bit and I can score against him because he ain't playing a lot of defense. And but when we played together, whoever the best scorer was on the other team, I got him. And Randy's gonna get the buckets for us. So, but yeah, he was definitely my nemesis and my counterpart when we played together. But was such a talented dude, and I enjoyed competing with him. We made each other better, I think.
What was life like for you once you reached New Hampton, like on and off the court, like from a guy like yourself from the city? How was that transition for you?
The first 3 months, it was extremely tough. All right. I had never been away from home. I grew up, like I said, I'm a young African-American male growing up in Harlem. The only white people I really saw at that time in my life, and we're talking back 70s, 80s, early 90s, were police officers, social workers, school teachers, right? Because Harlem was not.
And everybody else was on television.
Absolutely. Harlem was not that diverse. The community there was no gentrification, none. Everyone in Harlem kind of looked just like, I did, with people of color, with the exception of one of my buddies, a guy named Carl Pitt, who was a white kid who grew up in Harlem with us. But, it wasn't very diverse. So now I'm a young black student athlete going up into New Hampshire, where I think the people of color population is 1%. All right. When I got on campus, man, I didn't see any black people for about a day or two. Then I realized there were a couple students of color on campus, but it was very different, but it was refreshing. And I tell you, it was eye-opening seeing how other people live. I'm on campus with kids who came from wealth, who were driving cars, and paying whatever it costs, the full load to go to school there. So, it just gave me a different perspective of what life was like, but it was the best decision I made in my life, though, was to go to school there.
When did you start to flourish on the basketball court and in the classroom? Let's talk about both of those.
I tell you what, I'll talk about the classroom stuff first, because when I went there, my grades were not very good, right? And I had a meeting with the dean of students, and this gentleman was heaven sent for me, because he had a conversation with my mom on the phone, and then he called me into his office. We're in his office for over an hour, maybe close to 2 hours. And basically all he was talking about was how horrible my grades were. And I was like, oh man, this guy, he's a white guy. He's an older, very sophisticated, educated dude. And he looked at me, he was like, listen, I think you're lazy. And he said a lot of things to me that I felt like, he was being down on me, and I was thinking he was very negative, but he was basically telling me the truth about who I was as a student athlete. I listened to what he had to say. He told me straight up, listen, I'm not going to allow you to do the stuff you did your first 2 years in high school. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in order for you to graduate from here and be ready for college. And he did exactly what he said he was going to do. He pushed me. He made sure I stayed on top of stuff. And listen, he was heaven sent, man. He was definitely heaven sent, because without him pushing me the way he did, I would have never went to college, and I would have never became the first college graduate in my family.
No, that's dope. Salute to him, man. Salute to him. And that allowed you to open up on the basketball court. And
absolutely.
And, what was that like? And how was the competition where you was at?
Competition was very good. I had a teammate of mine. He was an All-American out of Boston. His name was Eugene Miles. Eugene was he made all the All-American games.
Parade, Street Smith.
Yeah.
Right.
Him and Charles Smith.
Got you.
Were the two top big men on the East Coast. So we had some other guys. A guy named Jim Von der Linden was a 6'10" guy. We had a really, really good point guard, a kid named Scotty Norris. So we had a talented team, and there was a bunch of talent in the league at the time, whether it was Hyde Academy, Cushing Academy. We had a guy, he played with us with the Gauchos, Fred Burton out of Brooklyn.
Yeah, look, he's next.
Get out
I'm
of
not
here.
gonna put his number up there, but yeah, Fred
Get
Burton.
out of
Yeah,
here.
Fred,
Listen,
yeah. I'll be hitting him up next week.
Wow. Fred and I played together with the Gauchos, and Fred went to boarding school up in New Hampshire as well. And we played against each other in boarding school. And you know Fred Burton. In New York City, Fred averaged like 30 a game in high school. And Fred had a couple 50-point games in prep school. And, so the talent was stiff. There were a lot of talented guys. And I think that's kind of when New England prep school really started to flourish. And man, especially New Hampton School. My coach at the time was a legendary guy by the name of Whit Lejeune, who's at Bristol Academy now, coaching. Has been there for many years. In fact, that was one of my coaching stops. I coached with him at Bristol for 4 years.
Wow.
It was definitely an honor to go back and coach with a guy that coached me. And he's brought in so much talent. Like after we won the championship that year, Whit just kind of, he was a young guy, and he started realizing he knew talent when he seen it. He started making connections with a lot of Boston guys. Him and the guy Leo Papil out of the BABC program became really close. So he started getting a lot of talented guys. Conzo Martin played at Purdue, who coached at Missouri. Ed Cooley, who's coaching at Georgetown. I was at Providence, played for Whit at New Hampton School. So there's been a lot of talented players that have gone on to play at New Hampton School over the years. So the talent was stiff, right? The talent was rich, and there was a lot of good players coming through.
After being up in New Hampton, you started to notice some things with some different athletes, and how they were able to, I wouldn't say, how can I say this, get themselves prepared for the next level, but also doing it through academics first to give themselves a chance through academics, to give them a chance on the athletic field, whether it's hockey, soccer, volleyball, whatever your case. But I want you, and I'm gonna give you the stage right now, and I want you to just walk us through that process, and you learning that that information, so you can kind of break down the history about the reclassification.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, again, I knew nothing about reclassification. I went to New Hampton School as a 16-year-old junior in high school, and I started hearing postgraduates, and I was like, "What's a postgraduate?" And then some of the guys that were on the football team and some of the hockey players were postgraduates, and I was like, "What does that mean?" Well, one of the kids said, "Well, they graduated high school already, but for one reason or another, whether it's academics or whether athletically, they weren't quite ready for college. So they're going to do a postgraduate year. After they graduated from high school, they're going to do a postgraduate year at a boarding school to get ready for college." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense." And then I started hearing this reclassification. And the first I heard of it was, I had a roommate. He was a hockey player. And it was so funny because we became so close. Like I said, I'm a African-American young male from Harlem, and he was a white kid from Altoona, Pennsylvania, country music lover. And we're roommates. And I'm like, "Oh, man, this is not going to work." I'm trying to play my rap, and he's playing his country music. And he started loving rap, and I started singing country songs, man. you know, but we had a conversation one day, and I was a junior, he was a sophomore, and we just, sitting around the room talking about stuff, and we were talking about birthdays and stuff. I was like, yeah, my birthday's in July, and I'll turn 17, my birthday. He's like, yeah, well, my birthday's in September, and I'll turn 18 my birthday. I was like, how are you going to turn 18, dude? He was like, yeah, I'll be 18 my birthday. I was like, dude, I'll be 17. He's like, yeah. I was like, so how are you in the 10th grade? I said, you got left back. He said, no, I reclassed. I was like, what do you mean you reclassed? You got left back. And he was like, no, you see my grades. Kid was a straight A student. He said, my goal is to play hockey one day in college. And the only chance I get to play hockey is if I reclass to give myself more time to get physically strong. He's like, school is nothing. But physically, I can't play with some of these guys. And I noticed at the time, hockey was really, really big in New England.
What year? Tell people what year this was.
This was 1984, right? New Hampton School used to have the best hockey program in the country. We had an A team, a B team, and a JV team, right? The JV team played high school varsity teams. The B team played all the top prep school teams. The A team played all college JV teams and junior hockey teams, which are the teams from Canada with kids who are like 19 years old.
And that's the prep. That's the prep team.
That's the prep team. The prep, So we had 3 different teams, and the talent was immense. I started going to some of the hockey games, and I'm watching how fast these kids are and how good these kids are, and I'm like, wow, right? So, but still realizing that these kids physically weren't ready to play at Boston College, at BU, at some of these great hockey schools. And I never forget, there was a kid, he's a Canadian kid. He was the #1 junior hockey player in Canada. So when he came to the school, he had Boston College and BU and Michigan recruiting him. When he came to the school, and he was like 17, he had to play on the B team. He's a #1 player, but he had to play on the B team because physically he get beat up by the guys on the A team. So, my roommate introduced me to what is now reclassification. He explained why, and I looked at his body, and I looked at the body of some of the guys that were on the, the elite team, and they were men. They were 19, some even 20, and physically, you see these guys in a weight room, they were men. So I understood then why my roommate reclassed, because he didn't have a chance, right? He wouldn't have been able to play Division III hockey at the time. So that was my first introduction to being a postgraduate and also reclassification and understanding why people needed to do that. Basketball-wise, none of the kids at the school had reclass. Fred Burton did a postgraduate year, right, to help. And I don't know exactly why he did it. He had a lot of schools recruiting him, but Fred wound up doing a PG year, but he didn't reclass. All right. So that was my junior year. Going to my senior year,
Did you know that you can reclass? Like, did you know it was a thing in basketball? Or did you just think it was just for hockey?
I just thought it was for hockey.
There you go.
Because all the basketball players I played against, guys were 17, 18, going to college, playing Division I ball, Division II ball, or wherever they were going. They were going straight to high school. And also, even if guys got left back a year, they still played in their age group. So if I'm in the 10th grade and all my fellow teammates are going to 11th grade, I didn't play with the kids that were younger than me. I played with the 11th graders, right? We moved up with our age group. So there was no advantage. You just had to be ready to play. I think somewhere maybe I guess when I first started coaching back in 2000, and I started coaching in prep school, that I started realizing people were reclassing. But even then, I didn't hear so much reclassing.
For basketball, you're talking about?
Yeah. That started in the 2000s.
Okay.
Right? Not in the 80s, not in the 90s.
Right.
It was more in the 2000s. And a lot of times what happened is if guys were going to prep school for extra year, they were doing a postgraduate year.
Yeah.
Right? So it became fascinating to me, fast forward, when I started coaching, hearing people talking about reclassing. And then not only were kids reclassing, they weren't playing with their age group. They were being allowed to play with younger kids. And that blew my mind.
Now, what you find out all these truths about reclassing, and then you started to find out they were doing it in the basketball. Did you have a problem with it then? Because it seemed like, you understood why they were doing it for hockey. Do you understand why they're doing it for basketball at the extreme rate that they're doing it?
I did understand why some people were doing it, but let's go back to when I talked to a lot of the kids who were doing it for hockey. These kids were super talented kids who had the talent level to play college hockey. They just weren't physically strong enough to compete against these guys who were just bullying them around. Now, they had the skill set, but, physically they're just getting beat up. Hockey's a very physical sport. But they were probably more skilled than some of the guys that were in college. They just physically weren't strong enough. Well, a lot of these kids who are reclassing are not doing it because some kids are doing it because they need that extra year to physically fill out. But some kids are doing it because they're just not ready talent-wise to play at the next level. So they reclass thinking another year will help them. In some cases, it does. And in a lot of cases, it don't. It don't, because my thing is this. One thing we know about sports, right? Everyone has a beginning and an ending level, right? Michael Jordan had a beginning level, and his ending level was maybe the all-time great.
Yeah.
Pooh had a beginning level.
That's a fact.
Then he had an ending level. Tony Wright had a beginning level where at 11, 12, he was the worst player on the team, to at 18, he was good enough to play college basketball, right? Not professional basketball.
Right.
Not in the NBA, but pretty good college basketball. I think some of these kids, their beginning level and their ending level are not going to get them to play in college basketball. I mean, you can find a lot of kids. Now, I'm not telling kids you shouldn't try it, If that's your aspiration, that's your goal, but understand why you're doing it and have a plan to how you're going to accomplish your goal of making it at a college level, whether it's Division One, Division Two, NAIA, junior college, or Division Three, right? If your goal is to play college basketball, or are you doing the things you need to do? And just reclassing is not going to be it, right? You can reclass 3 times and still not be a college level player.
Yeah, and they're up against the transfer portal, right? And you know, we talked about it off camera how they open up the transfer portal the week of the Sweet 16, right? And you know, kids don't understand the ramifications of that, and it's going to have on their career. You got a lot of college coaches who are not recruiting high school kids, and then if you're not in the top 100, 200 kids, nobody's not even giving you a look. And you can average 27, 30 points a game, and you're going to have to take the prep school route, go out to, you know, do that prep year, and may even have to go to junior college for a year or two.
And it's funny because basically college coaches are doing exactly what, like back in the day, what hockey people were doing, right? Taking the most advanced, the more physical players that are ready to play right now. That's what they're doing. In college, you used to have an opportunity as a freshman to maybe even redshirt and physically get stronger, but they're not even doing that any longer, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have got to either be physically ready to play from day one, or you need to go to prep school. And to be honest, there are only so many spots in prep schools, right? So I think if a lot of these kids are smart, they'll start looking at going to junior college. And this new thing they got with junior colleges, I guess they're talking about if you play a couple years in junior college, it won't count towards you going to a 4-year.
And I think that's only I think that's only on the D1 level in junior college.
But you know, and again, if a kid is talented enough to possibly play college ball at a Division I level, I would probably go to junior college more so than going to prep school. Because why? Junior college, I get 2 years to really work, and I'm playing against college talent.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then I'm getting college credits also. So when I get to a 4-year school, I got sophomore credits. I got 4 years to play. I can possibly graduate with my master's.
That's right.
You know, whereas I reclass once or twice in high school, and I still may not get a scholarship when I graduate.
Now, when do you think is the right age to reclass?
I personally, I would say in middle school. I think when guys do it in high school, it doesn't help a whole lot, because I think by the time you're in high school, you're starting to develop, your skills are starting to develop, and you're a certain type of player, right? And if you do it in high school, sometimes I think what happens is, one, now you got to, if you reclass, now you got to go to a boarding school or a prep school somewhere, because, you know, if you're in public school in New York City, you only got 4 years.
Yeah.
And you can't reclass. There's no such thing as that in New York City Catholic or public schools. So now you got to go to a boarding school. And even if you reclass, there is still no guarantee. If you reclass twice, there's still no guarantee you're going to get a Division I, Division II scholarship.
Now, you can reclass twice, once in junior high school and once in high school, or can you reclass 2 times in high school?
If you're, you know what, if you're at a boarding school, you can reclass and then say do a postgraduate year. So that gives you 2 more years. But again,
Even if you reclass to junior high school?
Yeah, possibly. Listen, I've coached at 4 different boarding schools, and the first boarding school I coached at, we had kids that were 20 years old that were college freshmen, right? Some of them had to be there academic reasons, but yeah, there are people doing it several times. But like I said, it only works if you're talented enough to play at the Division I level, right? Some kids' talents stop, and you might be a Division II player, or you might be a Division III player, right? And you got to know where you're at when it comes to that, because I think if you spend so much time thinking I'm gonna reclass 10 times and play Division I ball, it ain't gonna happen, right? Understand that the kids that were playing Division I basketball or Division I players, they have the skill set and the talent to play at that level. There are other really good players who are playing Division II basketball, right? Their skill set and their talents work at the Division II level. And then there are guys who are playing Division III ball. Some kids go, oh, I'll never play Division III ball. There are some kids that can flat out play that are playing Division III basketball,
That's
right?
a fact.
That show you how good they are, where they get Division I scholarships. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No, good. I was gonna say that.
prime example, I had a kid in my program. His name was David Murray. David was, he went to a private school here in the city. He played with me in my Wizard program. David's about 6'6". He was a talented kid. Every tournament we went to, we play at the big tournaments. He would compete against the other guys. And I said, you know what? He could probably play at a small Division I school. But no one really recruited him like that. His high school coach didn't push him like that. Whenever he would play with me during the summers, he was a beast, and he would compete. But when he played his high school team, his high school coach didn't utilize him, I don't think, the way he should have. So David wound up going to a Division III school, great academic school, Connecticut College. There, he became a D3 All-American, a Division III All-American, really worked on his body, really worked on his game. Now, he graduated and earned a scholarship at Merrimack College, which is Division I school, right? He worked on his game, and because he went to a Division III school and played and showed people his talent, he was able to get a scholarship at Merrimack College. Now he's working on his master's degree. So I think people who overlook Division III schools, NAIA schools, or Division II schools are doing themselves a disservice, because if you can really play, go to one of those schools and show out. College coaches will know who you are, and they will see you.
And I think sometimes kids got to take the chance to go to these smaller colleges and get themselves ready for the next level, or stay at that school, become a legend, get your master's, and really have a university that's going to back you after the ball start bouncing, because the ball's going to start bouncing sooner or later.
That is extremely, extremely important. And that's why, like with my program, I set my program up to be a competitive basketball program. However, at the same time, I wanted my program to be a program where my kids were going to go to college, right? Every kid that played in my program didn't go to college and play basketball, but several of them had an opportunity to play Division I ball, Division II ball, Division III basketball, right? But the great part about it is every kid who stayed in my program until they graduate out of high school have all either already graduated from college. Some of them got their masters. Some of them are still in college, playing college ball, but they're working towards getting their college degree. And that's, again, we won a lot of games, we won a lot of tournaments, but I think the thing that makes me the proudest as a coach is their success academically, and knowing that 20 years from now, they're going to be able to take care of themselves. And if they have a family, be able to take care of their family as well.
No, that's definitely the plan. That's the blueprint right there. All right, now when you had your last, that last go around the ball at prep school, what was your recruiting like, and why did you decide to pick UNC Charlotte?
All right. I again, the balls just started rolling, and started getting noticed from my play in high school and prep school, and in AAU, during the summers in Vegas with Gauchos, and I was luckily invited to, it was back then, it was called AFB camp.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They used to have 2 camps, and they had several camps. They had different locations. They had one in the Midwest. They had one out in like California, and they had one, the East Coast one, they had at Manhattan College. So it would be all the New Jersey kids, all the New York kids, and like Connecticut players would come. And during that camp at Manhattan College, there were a lot of college coaches there. And I had a good camp. I had a really, really good camp. And back then what they would do is the top 50 kids at that camp will go to the big camp, which was at in New Jersey at Fairleigh Dickinson University.
Yep.
Right. So then that's when you would see all the guys from California, the Midwest guys, and the different players come through. So again, I had a really good camp, played well, just was noticeable to a lot of coaches. And one of the very first coaches to see me was a guy by the name of Melvin Watkins at the time. Melvin was assistant coach at UNC Charlotte. He had later on became head coach there, and then he was the head coach at Texas A&M as well. But I would see Melvin, and back then, they couldn't really talk to you.
Right.
The coaches couldn't, but he would always look at me, and he would like when our games would be over, he would like be on the sideline looking at me, trying to look and get my attention. So when I would look at him, he would kind of nod at me like, "Hey, how you doing?" And at first I was like, who's this guy? Every time I play, the game is over, he's standing there and he's looking, he's nodding, and I'm like, okay. And it was so funny because by the time I finished that camp, got invited to the Fairleigh Dickinson camp. It was the top 50 kids, and man, there was a lot of talented kids at that camp. Boo Harvey, Rod Strickland, Anthony Mason, you name it, on and on and on. And we went to the big camp, which Danny Manning, Danny Ferry, John Williams, nothing but future pros was at the big camp. And I would see Coach Watkins at the big camp. With all that talent there, he was still following me around and at my games. And it was crazy because at that time, I wasn't really being recruited by anybody. Like I would get letters from these very small schools or whatever. And then I think I got back home after the ABCD camp at Fairleigh Dickinson University, and my mailbox was full of mail. I'm looking at Cleveland State. I'm looking at Seton Hall. I'm looking at NC, packages and packages from North Carolina, Charlotte, University of Hawaii, just different schools. And I'm freaking out like, these guys think I'm good enough to play college ball. And I'm showing the letters to my mom, and she was like, listen, just keep doing what you're doing. So I guess that's when I realized I was good enough, and other people thought I was good enough to play college ball.
Nah, that's dope, man. And unfortunate thing happened. Your coach got got fired, right?
Yeah. Listen, I visited Seton Hall. Liked it, but there was a lot of New York guys going there. Marty Sally was going there. And me and
James
Marty,
Majors, all the guys,
yeah,
especially in scholarship position, Marty
yes.
Sally, yeah, for sure.
We're the same size. We were kind of basically the same players. And North Carolina Charlotte was also recruiting Marty. And basically they told me on my visit, whoever signs first is who we're going to take.
Right.
So when I went down to Charlotte, I was like, you know what? I like it here. I'm signing. So I wound up signing with Charlotte, and I go back home that summer, and there was some stuff with the administration, and they wound up firing the head coach. At the time, his name was Harold Whistle. And I was like, ugh, that's rough. And the new coach came in, and, you know, his goal was to play seniors and other people, and he didn't know if I had a scholarship there. And a buddy of mine at the time, Tavian Benz, was going to Midland College, and he called me. He was like, yo, why don't you come to Midland?
Wow.
Told the coaches about me, and I wound up going to Midland and playing there a couple of years. And again, it was a great experience for me at Midland.
No, that's dope, man. That's dope. And was this Midland in Texas?
Midland, Texas, yes.
Yeah. Definitely produced a lot of good ball players.
Yeah.
For sure. And how was that transition? Because you go from, you know what I'm saying, New York City to New Hampshire to Midland, Texas. How was that transition?
Again, you know what? It was easy. It was easy because I spent time on campus at New Hampton School, right? Now I got used to being away from home. I started learning how to be an advocate for myself, academically, socially. You know, I was doing my own laundry, the whole nine. So going off to college was a lot easier because at Midland, because I had already done it, right? Going to boarding school, one thing about that, that boarding school do give kids a advantage over kids who don't go to boarding school.
That's right.
Is you spend some time away from home. You have to learn how to be an advocate for yourself. You have to learn how to do a lot of stuff on your own without the help of your parents. And so the transition into college is pretty easy. So my transition to Midland was pretty easy. Getting used to the cold and the snow, and then going to hot West Texas was a little different, you know. But it was good, and a lot of good basketball at Midland. Played with a lot of good players. My sophomore year at Midland, I was in the starting lineup, but three of the starters at Midland 2 years later were starters in the Final Four. The starting backcourt was a guy named Ricky Grace and Mookie Blaylock, who played in the league, and a guy named Lincoln Minor, who played at Kansas, and that was the year Kansas beat Oklahoma in the championship
with Danny Manning.
So we had an extremely talented team, and
Oklahoma had Wayman Tisdale.
No, Tisdale wasn't there.
He wasn't there yet? Oh, okay.
No, he had already graduated.
Okay, got you.
Oklahoma had Mookie Blaylock, Ricky Grace. They had Stacey King.
Got you, Stacey King. That's it. Yes.
Stacey King, the kid Bowie, that played in the league. So they had a lot of talent as well. So Midland, West Texas basketball, that conference was loaded with guys. Whether it was Odessa, South Plains, it was a ton of talent in that conference. We're fortunate, though. And like I said, we played with a super talented team my sophomore year. We had an undefeated season. It was two teams that were undefeated. Midland, we were undefeated, and San Jac was undefeated.
San Jacinto,
That was Boo Harvey, Michael Porter, Lindo
Mhm.
Eccles, and we wound up playing. I should have sent you a picture. We wound up playing San Jack. They were number 1 in the country. We were number 2 in the country. We played them in Fort Worth, Texas, which was kind of halfway between both of us. They had this crazy thing. It was called Bar Region, which every other year, 2 teams from Texas can come to the Nationals. But that particular year, only 1 team can go. And so we had to play them. And imagine that. They're number 1 in the country. We're number 2 in the country. And we had to play them before the Nationals. And the guy said, you know what? This is probably the national championship game.
Wow.
Yeah. And they beat us 7, 8 points. It was, a tough game. And then they went to Nationals and blew out everybody.
Mm.
So, yeah.
And you decided to come home after that.
Yeah, you know what? Had an opportunity. I could have went to Baylor. At the time, EJ was there.
Yep. Eric Johnson.
Yep, and my man Middleton.
Yep.
Those-
John Middleton. Yep.
They were there. I could have went to Baylor. There were other options, but you know what? I knew I can come to Iona and play right away. They were losing quite a few guys, and I decided, you know what? I'm ready to come home, man. I'm ready to come home.
No doubt. And what was your transition like after you stopped playing ball? Did you go play ball overseas, or you got your degree and you went to the real world? How was that?
Right after Iona, I got a chance to play a little bit overseas for about a year and a half. The league wasn't great. The money wasn't great.
It wasn't. Definitely back then. If you wasn't a really big time player, or just leaving the NBA, it really wasn't a good look.
And it was good. You know what? It gave me another year to just keep playing the game that I love. But then I was like, you know what? It's time to get in the real world, right? I moved back to New York for a little bit, and at the time, my mom had just moved to Georgia, so I decided to move south because I have a lot of family that live in the Atlanta, Macon, Georgia area. So I decided
that's dope. That's dope, man.
Wow.
Now, do you talk about your transition back into the real world? Because I say the real world because a lot of time we live in this fantasy world called the basketball world, and it comes with no real experience, right? So when we make that transition, for some of us it's very difficult, and for some of us it's seamless. How was your transition?
You know what? Throughout my college time, I got an opportunity to be part of different programs. So I wound up getting jobs, different places. And Iona helped me tremendously because I think my junior year at Iona, they helped me find a summer job at HBO. That's when HBO was really big.
Yeah,
the main cable company. And I did a summer intern, paid intern, luckily, at HBO. And again, started to have to wear ties and dress shirts and things like that. And started realizing that, at some point you're going to be doing this a lot longer than you've been playing basketball. So, again, I think my experiences of going to the right schools that helped me, help prepare me for the real world when I left.
And that's what we talked about earlier, right? Going to a school that's going to support you after you finish playing ball, which a lot of guys don't get a chance to do. And a lot of guys are not going to get a chance to do these days because they're jumping from one school to the other school to the next school and don't leave a real legacy.
No, and you know what? It's also kind of how you do stuff as well, too. My kids, and listen, they laugh at me because they can tell you verbatim what I'm going to say about different situations, right? But I feel like if you tell somebody something once, they might hear you. If you tell them 2, 3, 4, 5 times, they may understand you, right? And it's a difference, right? Some people say, I hear what you're saying, but yeah, you hear what I'm saying, but do you understand exactly what I'm telling you, right? And when they get that understanding of what you're telling them, that's when they're going to flourish, right? So I'm a preacher. I preach to my kids about doing stuff the right way and how you do things, right? And luckily, like I said, speaking way back in the day, Dave McCullough telling me, hey, listen, we want you with the Gauchos, but I need you to go tell Riverside you're no longer going to play with them, right? Doing stuff the right way. What did that allow me? It allowed me, guess what? If I went to the Gauchos and didn't like it very much, I can now go back to Riverside and go, hey, listen, I thought that's what I wanted. I want to come back. And how you leave really determines whether you can be accepted back, right? And people understand it. Like I always tell the kids, it's how you do things. It's how you say things, right? Which makes a difference, man. Whether or not you want to go to a certain school, but a coach is recruiting you, hear that person out. Hear him out, right? Even if that's not what you want to do. Why? You see how college basketball is now? Kids jumping in the portal and they leaving, they going, they leaving. Guess what? College coaches are doing that too.
Yeah.
So, say for instance, I don't know, let's just pick a name school. Say for instance, I don't want to go to Iona, I want to go to St. John's, right? St. John's is maybe a bigger name. That's where I want to be. But I blow the coach off at Iona, and I'm rude to him, and, blah, blah. Then I go to St. John's, and I'm there for about a year or two. And then the head coach of St. John's gets the job at Duke. Now the guy at Iona gets a job at St. John's. You think he really wants you on his team?
That's a fact.
Right? But if I explained to him, I think St. John's is the best place for me, coach. I appreciate you guys recruiting me. I appreciate the effort you guys have made for me. Guess what? He go, that's a good kid. We didn't get him. Wish we had him. And we wish we had more kids like that. So now when he takes the job at St. John's, guess what he's doing? Hey, I don't want you to leave. All right? We want to keep you. So you want to do things because you never know in life who you might need for something. You may think, I'm never going to need this guy.
You never know.
You never know. I have kids who played in my program that call me all the time. Hey, coach, could you help me out with a job? Could you write me a letter of recommendation? I've written in the last 3 years probably about 25 of them. And this is kids who are trying to get jobs. This is kids who are trying to get into colleges and universities. These are kids who are going to other schools. And it makes a difference. And like I said, how you treat people, how you carry yourself, do I want to write a letter of recommendation for a kid who's rude, disrespectful, and all he cares about him is himself? Probably not.
Wow. Let's talk about that program you started, Coach. I'm going to give you some space before we wrap it up. Tell people about your program, where they can find it. Let's start off where when you started it and what age groups you work with and where they can find it at. All right.
All right. I started the program back in 2011. This is after I left, stopped coaching in boarding schools, and came back to New York City, worked at a couple different places, and wanted to start a program where we really want to make sure our kids were not just focusing on basketball, but also looking towards getting a college education. My program is called New York City Wizards Basketball Program. Our motto is we work magic with kids. And again, our goal was to make sure that every kid who participated in our program got an opportunity to go to college. Now, our program is very diverse. We have kids from private schools, public schools. We have kids from the Upper East Side. We have kids that are, living in poverty. Our program is very diverse. One year we played in the Rucker League, and the guy came to me and he called my team the United Nations. He said, "Man, you got Black, Hispanic, Asian, white kids." He's like, I just don't see teams like yours in city and in Harlem and in Dykeman and leagues like that. And that's what I wanted, because I wanted my kids to have a great experience, knowing that many of them might be first generation college students. We had kids who parents are Harvard graduates. Their parents are well-to-do. They all went to private schools all their life. They wound up going to Harvard as well. But we had kids who parents didn't go to college. But my goal was to make sure they had the opportunity. And many of those kids have done that. And many of them had their college degrees. They're doing extremely well. And that was the function, the reason, the goal of my program. We don't do as much traveling as we do, but we do a lot of skill training. We still do a lot of summer league stuff. We do Dykeman, we do Rucker. And again, like I said, we get in the gym and we teach the basics, right? We teach the basics. A lot of our kids have gone on to play Division I college basketball. Texas Tech, Iowa, Seton Hall, Manhattan, just to name a few, Rhode Island, and so on. So if there's people out there who are looking for a program that's going to teach your kid the game the right way, that's going to make sure they're focused academically as well as athletically, we can be reached. The email is NYC Wizards @gmail.com, or you can call. The number is 646-281-7943. We're always looking for good kids who have a positive mindset and who want to play with other good kids.
No doubt. I'm putting that up right there. Y'all want to see it? NYC. Hold on, I think I get that right. Wizards, right? NYC Wizards?
Yes.
NYC Wizards @gmail.com.
Yep.
Y'all can check them out there. And before we get out of here, I want to just have some fun before we get out of here and do our top 5. All right? Can we do that?
We can do it.
I bet.
Top 5. Top 5.
All right, Tone. Let's do this real quick.
Okay.
Top 5 players you played with all time.
Whew.
I'll be part of the show, brother.
All right. Top 5 players I played with. Teammates. Randy Grant, workhorse, is one. I'm not. Yep, he's one. Mookie Blaylock. Rod Strickland. Oh man. So many, so many. Man, teammates. Derek Chivas.
4.
Oh man, I'm leaving out a whole bunch of
You only
really
can pick
talented.
5. You only can pick 5.
I'm leaving out a whole bunch of really talented kids. I would say Eugene Miles.
5. All right. Top 5 players you played against.
Rick Chapman.
Mm.
He was a killer. Oh man, I'm thinking summer leagues. I'm thinking college. Competing against, man, Darryl Mack.
D-Mac, friend of the show for sure.
Man, workhorse Randy Grant.
Played with and against him.
Played with and against.
That's right.
He
Salute
was,
Randy Grant, getting a lot of love.
Absolutely, man.
Two more
quickly. And it's funny, one of these guys, no one's going to know. His name is Tony Smith. Played at Marquette. Lit me up. Wound up playing with the Los Angeles Lakers. Really good player. And
last one,
I gotta say, Nigel Wallace.
Heard about him for sure.
Nigel, I played with him, but I played against him one time, and it wasn't cute, and it wasn't pretty.
All right, top 5 players in New York City history.
Who?
And from your perspective.
All right.
Hold on. Before you, I gotta give a big shout out. He's both of our kid, Earl Ramirez.
Big Earl. It's my son, man. That's my son.
No doubt. That's my boy, man. Love him to death, man. So proud of him right now.
Oh man.
Always been proud of him, man. But for his transformation and what he's doing with his life right now, it's big, man. It's big.
Met Earl when he was 11 years old, man. And he called me today. He called me today. We had conversations about, him being, and Earl's like a son to me, man. I know him since he was 11. We laugh. I'm at work laughing loud and stuff, man. Great kid, man. And I'm extremely proud of him as well.
Yep. I was fortunate enough to coach him when he went to my high school. He was with us in elementary school. Junior high school and high school. And look, he always had bigger plans than when he was at. And I'm glad he was able to make that transition in his life. And so proud of him where he's at right now. So, man, love you, Earl, man. Keep doing your thing. We're all proud of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, now, top 5 players in New York City history from your perspective.
All right. Lou Alcindor. All right. He's one of the all-time greats.
It's numero uno right there. That's our GOAT.
He's a GOAT. Julius Erving.
All right. And I'll tell y'all people, we count Long Island and New York, all parts of New York.
Yep.
We just, say New York City because we the Mecca, but definitely Julius Erving. I'll give you that. That's 2.
Joe Hammond,
number 3. I can't wait till I have my conversation with Joe.
Oh man, listen, as a young boy, I went down and watched him play. Came in at halftime of the game. Took his time getting dressed, and his team was losing. He went out and proceeded to score like 36 in the second half, nothing but bank shots. And that was my introduction. I was like, this dude is really, really, really good.
One of the greatest basketball minds. I had a chance to watch a couple of games with him. One of the greatest basketball minds ever. Yeah.
Oh man.
Two more.
I'm gonna I had to say Pee Wee Kirkland.
Pee Wee Kirkland. For sure, for sure, for sure.
Pee Wee Kirkland. And
one more.
the fifth all-time great New York City players. I'm gonna go summer league, right? Young guy. He's because I watched him like a 3-4 year period, just absolutely destroy everyone every summer for about 3-4 years straight. Pookie Wilson.
Pookie Wilson, Mr. MVP. For sure. Rest in peace, Pookie Wilson, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, listen, brother, it was a pleasure having you on, man. Listen, I always credit myself to being a student of the game. You definitely schooled me tonight and everybody else. If it's your first time on here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Share this information because I don't think a lot of people know my guy Tony Wright's story. What an amazing story. Great transformation and someone who's out here helping others, man. So definitely got to salute my guy Tony Wright. We're gonna give him a big whistle for the show. Yo, Tone, man, let's stay in contact and let's keep building them bridges and make New York City great, man. I'm definitely gonna be calling you, all right?
Absolutely.
So we can make sure that game happens the right way.
Absolutely. Listen, I appreciate your time and I appreciate your invite to the show.
Nah, you know that, brother. We locked in forever now, man.
Absolutely.
No doubt. All right, everybody. Appreciate y'all for sticking out tonight, coming on the show. And I know by the time this all said and done, so many people are going to be watching this. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you can get all the content that's coming. And just keep locked in, man. Basketball heads. You know how we do.
Peace.
All right, no doubt. Man, that was truly a lesson, man. For all of you who don't understand, who didn't understand the history of reclassification, I hope you definitely got it, like my guy CK just said, for sure. Hope you understood the history, and I hope you got a chance to learn a lot about my guy Tony Wright, Harlem native. Made some mistakes in the beginning of his academic and athletic years at George Washington and correct those mistakes in prep school. And sometimes you need that extra lift. And I needed that. That's why I went to Maine Central Institute in Maine and played at MCI, because I needed that. I needed to get focused on my grades. So I understand where Tony was coming from tonight, and understand those travels, because it definitely prepared me for college and the next level. So I'm definitely appreciative. For those of you on my basketball heads, stay locked in, stay loaded, never give up on your dreams. And if you made a mistake in the beginning, don't mean that you can't fix it in the end. Real talk. So before we start knocking out kids out here that's reclassifying, understand the history and understand how it came about. And like Tony said, you can reclass 1,000 times and still don't get to where you need to go. You have to be locked in. You have to stay 10 toes down, stay busy in the classroom, make sure that you're getting all your work done, and make sure that you're working on your game holistically. All right? Well, that's it. That's all she wrote for tonight. I am your host, Glenn Poole Harding, and you've been watching Basketball Heads Live. We are the official home for New York City basketball. Make sure to contact my guy, Tony Wright, at nycwizards@gmail.com if you want to be a part of his program. You got any kids that want to be a part of his program. And also, registration for the Brevo Basketball League 12U and also for the league is due now. So make sure y'all definitely hit me up on IG or the Brevo Basketball League IG page if you want to participate in the Brevo Basketball League. Remember, our 12U is draft only. There's not an invitation for our 12U. Our 12U, we give clinics and we allow our community coaches to pick from those kids that come to the clinic in the draft. We do it the same way as the NBA, and our junior high school is invitational and our high school is invitational. So make sure you do the right thing this summer. Come out and get that work. Brooklyn style, baby. Brooklyn style. Brooklyn style. Peace. We are out of here. That's a fact.
Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Yes. You have just stepped into the world of chaos. Where everybody goes hard. Come on. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Or go home. Never back down. You gotta hold your own. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. East Coast. Go hard. West Coast. Go hard. Midwest. Go hard. Dirty. Hurry up, everybody. Get online. Buy your tickets, cause the game about to start.